Good morning, good afternoon, or wherever you're on the earth. Thanks for being here. It's me, Aridos.com Rashid. I'm your anthropologist and sociologist. Please hit the like button, share this live stream, subscribe to the channel, become a member of the channel. Don't forget, you can donate in the links below. If you want a one-on-one consultation, please check the fees and the instructions in the description below. You can check my novels on Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, and other places too. Above all, I would like you to listen, pay attention, take notes, learn, and put into practice what I'm teaching here to glorify Heavenly Father. Thank you very much. All right. Um, we are starting um, with a parable immediately. Okay? So I want you to pay attention to the story I'm about to tell you now, because I'm about to ask you a question afterwards about the story. I do this often. Okay, let's begin. You have two police detectives. They arrive at the house and they knock on the door. And a, a elderly lady opens the door. Uh, Good afternoon. What can I do for you? Ma'am, I'm Detective Richardson, and this is my colleague, Detective Johnson. And so the two detectives introduce one another, and we need to talk to you. And she asks, concerning what? Well, it's about your grandson, Mike. Okay, come in. So the police detectives explained that Mike was suspected of a homicide. And the grandmother of Mike just told her everything she knew. And the police detectives figure out this woman doesn't know much. So they just leave her alone. Then they go to the morgue because, well, not the morgue, they go to the forensic anthropologist who's doing the autopsy. And while they're there, the detective Johnson asks the medical examiner, what is the cause of death exactly? Um, and the medical examiner told him, well, there's a blunt force trauma to the head here. That actually was the fatal blow. However, there is also whatever what. This man was dying anyway. They asked, what do you mean? Well, this man had a terminal disease. He had cancer all over his body. And looking at his face and his skin, the stress was visible. So again, the blunt force trauma actually did it. It triggered what was already there in the body. It worsened his condition that became fatal onto him. However, even if the guy did not receive this 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 trauma to his head, this big blow to the head, he would have died within maybe a few months anyway. Okay, so the two detectives leave, and the thing is, they have no conclusive evidence that this Mike even is the one who beat up the victim and caused the victim to die. It's just that Mike and the victim had a troublesome relationship. Namely, um, the victim was the employer who just fired Mike, was according to Mike was not performing well. And Mike made reports that the employer was taking advantage of him and all of that. And I mean, based on this huge conflict, the police made assumption that Mike has a motive to want to get rid of the man. But they have no proof, not even circumstantial evidence. Now, I have a question for you all. Whether or not Mike actually was one that beat up the man and caused him to die is irrelevant. The man got beat up by someone, and the beat up accelerated the disease was already in him, and he died. So based on that, by law, whoever beat him up committed homicide. Simple as that. And they'll be arrested and go to prison. But I have a question for you. What actually got the man killed? Was it just the beat up? Or was it the lifestyle he lived that brought him into having that disease and the conflict that became fatal onto him? What really killed the man? Let me know in the live chat. What do you think? What really killed the man? The fact that it was beat up, and the beating up accelerated the health condition was the condition was in, and he died, or the lifestyle the man lived, the stressful lifestyle that led to him being so sick, and also contributed to him being end up in this conflict that became fatal. What actually killed the man? Let me know in the live chat. What do you think? I'll be right back within half a minute. Well, let's go through it again. So you have this guy, for example, so let's call him John. John was John is a murder victim. Someone beat him up, and the beat up led to his death. He died just days later. But the reason the beat up killed him because he already had a terminal sickness in his body. Now, this John had his own business. He was hardworking, married. He was divorced before, but he remarried. He had grown children. He always paid his taxes. He never gave unsolicited advice. He never had direct arguments with other people, only with some of his employees. So, yeah, he died, and there was a big funeral. At the funeral, my God, there were hundreds of people want to say goodbye. The people were crying, very emotional, laying thousands of flowers. So there was a lot of expression of love towards this man, a lot of endearment. Everyone had some good story to say about him. And people came after the funeral, people were so upset with what happened, and they really wanted whoever did it to go to prison. They want to catch the bad guy. Now, people in the world will say that this expression of endearment at his funeral shows how much he was beloved by the community. The fact there were so many people on his funeral showing endearment towards him, making time to come there, shows that he was beloved. My question to you, is this assumption true? That just because he had so many people on his funeral expressing love and sadness, does it automatically mean that the man was beloved during his lifetime? What do you think? Is assumption that because he had so many people at his funeral expressing love and endearment about his life, does it prove that he was beloved in the community when he was alive? What do you think? Let me know in the live chat. What do you think? Apart from that, it's not assumption people make often. The public was so upset with this John being murdered, this hard-working entrepreneur, was a good father who raised his children. Everyone had something good to say about him after he passed away. People were so keen on catching the bad guy. Wanted the guy. Some people even said we need to get a death penalty back, all of that. This zeal to catch the bad guy, uh, a lot of people say, wow, you see this is a strong community. They really want to catch the bad guy. But okay, is it true that people care about justice if they're so keen and zealous to catch the killer? Now, I want to explain the following to you. In society, you have overt behavior, which is behavior in your face, and you have covert behavior, behavior people do behind the scenes. And with behavior in society, you have the intended behavior. So that's actually behavior that, for example, you wanna go to a bar to get some drinks. Why are you at the bar to get some drinks? That's it. Or you want to go to the supermarket to buy some groceries. So you go to the supermarket to buy groceries just about the groceries. So that's the intended behavior. You also have um, what we call latent behavior. That's behavior you do to achieve a hidden motive. For example, someone can go to the supermarket to get, and the only reason he goes to get the groceries. This is what the supermarket is for you to go and purchase your groceries. But then, let's say now there are 10 supermarkets around, and someone drives all the way to the opposite side of his city to go to the supermarket. Now, people say, it's none of your business, man. He came here, he bought his groceries, he did not steal, he did not shoplift, he paid, he was on the route towards his fellow customers, he was on the route towards the staff. So what the heck? He's a customer that he came here, bought his groceries and left. A lot of people out there will say, indeed. I mean, maybe he just likes the supermarket. That's why he likes to come over here. Question: would a police officer or a detective look at behavior and brush it off? Let's say you have Frank, and Frank has traveled 10 miles with his car to go to a supermarket while he had 9 supermarkets just across the street from him. And those supermarkets sell the exact same goods he purchased at a supermarket 10 miles away. So he avoids all the supermarkets nearby him, but he goes to the supermarket 10 miles away. Common people say, well, did he break the law? Did he harm anyone? People just leave it like that. Do you think a police officer or a police detective would look at this behavior and brush it off? What do you think? Let me know in the live chat. And this is what I'm teaching you over here. Let me give you another example before I explain to you what I'm hinting towards here. Okay, let's say now that okay, let's say now you have someone, a woman, let's call her Claire, and Claire has a job, and she's off working often at the job. Now, mind you, Claire is married. Okay, Claire has 2 children also. The children were from a previous relationship, but her husband became a great stepdad, and her children love her husband also. The children are in their mid to late teens already. They're not small children anymore. But ever since the children were small, she kept working all the time. Now, her children were saying, well, mom was abandoned by her father. Our dad was left her for some street hoe he couldn't let go of. Our dad abandoned our mom for his ex-girlfriend, so mom was a single mom, and she did all she could to help us. That was the explanation children would give. But then outside us, once the children were grown, and saying, okay, but your mom remarried when you were how old? 11 years old. And the guy said 11. So at 11 years old, your little brother was 9 years old. Your mom was not a single mom anymore. She married. You got a stepdad, and the stepdad also earned well. And the guy says, yeah. Okay, so why did your mom continue to overwork so much? Work all the time, while she had the husband now who also earned well, and she's not a single mom anymore. The son said, well, you know how mothers are when they really love their children, everything for the children, and but then people say, okay, but she got you guys a stepdad. Your own father was shit towards you, abandoned, neglected you. She found another man to look after you. So why did she keep working like that? Okay, so the sons of this woman, because their mother, they have the bias to excuse her odd behavior. Her grown children now, they're not teenage anymore, they're grown now. They know that their mother's behavior doesn't add up. And they could also see that her working so much caused marriage problems. And her sons were thinking, hold on a minute, our stepdad is more like a real dad to us than our own dad, biological dad was. And our stepdad, he looks after us, so why is mom working so much and causing marriage problems? So even her sons were thinking, well, what the heck is our mom doing? An outsider clearly saw what's going on. Think about it. This woman was in a relationship. The father of children abandoned her, and she was on her own. Even when the father was in the picture, he didn't do much. She eventually found a man to marry that looked after her and her children. She and her husband never had children of their own, but he was a great stepdad. The children got along with him. So why was this woman spending most of her time at work all the time? So an outsider, he doesn't tell the sons that, but he figured it out. This woman wanted to escape her children. She even wanted to escape her husband. Now, in the eyes of the son, their mom was an unfortunate woman who got involved with the wrong man who abandoned her. But thank God she found a stepdad was willing to make things all right. That's how her sons see her. But is this the reality of the situation? Truth is, this woman was toxic to begin with, and she got involved with a man that was toxic, and she had children with toxic men. So both were toxic. Well, the toxic man left for someone else who was toxic. And the thing is, because she had children now, she had no choice but to do what she had to do, go find a job or any of that. And while working, she was away from the children. So she wouldn't be confronted with herself. She got the husband to make things financially easy onto her. And she was happy because this man was unable to have children himself. He was infertile. So the man loved to have children, and she thought, hey, I have two sons. So based on that, she married the man because she knew he would be a great stepdad. However, she herself still wanted to escape all the time. She wanted to abandon her own children too. But because she couldn't abandon the children nor undo their births, that's why she decided to work all the time. Now, her sons, in their view, their mom is this great woman who's working a lot, and she got stuck at working a lot, and she just needs some therapy. They have this high positive view of their mom. But an outsider who isn't emotionally yoked with this woman, they can clearly see, hold on a minute, nothing but situation ends up. Now, what am I teaching you here? Just like the first example of this entrepreneur, of this business owner called John, who was murdered, and he had this lifestyle that led him to have this disease, and he got into conflict and he was killed. How the people, so-called, showed so much love towards him and had so much zeal to catch the bad guy. And the second case of this single mom who found the husband, but she kept working all the time, and her sons keep standing up for her. In both cases, you have a superficial view of the situation. Let's go to the first parable I gave on to you. This murder victim, John, the fact this man developed disease in his body that would have killed him at some point anyway means that either this man neglected himself. And apart from that, how come he was so comfortable neglecting himself? It's because others neglected him too. That man was valued for what he brought to the table. Before he had his own business, he used to work jobs all the time. After started on business, he brought jobs. But he was valued based on the financial opportunities he brought. As an employee, he enriched the corporations he worked for. As a business owner, he kept the cash circulating in the community. And that is what he was known for. And he never complained and never so-called bothered other people. So this man was being neglected by the community, but he never called it out. Because he knew that people would make excuses, saying, oh, you're a grown man, you're not a child, you need to pull yourself by the bootstraps, whatever. So this man was in a bad situation. And this man did not admit the bad situation he was in. Eventually, he began to take out this rejection on his employees. And eventually, one of his employees eventually lost his mind, beat him up, and he died. Now, the employee should have just walked away instead of confronting him, leading to a fight, all of that. So the employee is wrong who did that. But look at this. This man's life was celebrated at his funeral. But hold on a minute. What were people celebrating about him? The fact that he was a doormat that never ever held the community accountable for how they were treating him. So him being a good guy meant that he allowed everyone to be at ease, even at his own expense. That is what they were praising about him. There was profit, they could profit off of him without feeling guilty. Now, question, is that a good thing? No. So this man was not loved at all. He wasn't. All the expressions of love people made at his funeral was for the community to hide how they treated him when he was alive. Because how they treated him contributed to the disease he had. And even though it isn't fully on the community, because the man himself kept himself in the bad situation, the way they treated him also contributed to him being murdered. So because nobody wanted to feel guilty and nobody wanted to be bothered by how they mistreated him, they all had a beautiful funeral. And now, the embarrassment of how they mistreated him, they took it out on the murderer. Now, the guy that murdered the man is guilty anyway. He should be locked up. So that the community wants the killer to be catched, that's natural. But this zeal, this deep anger that they want to catch the bad guy, that's not something honorable. That's okay. The guy who killed the man, he's wrong. Hell, nobody's going to defend him. He should be held accountable. However, where's the accountability of the community for it to make think, you know what, the guy was murdered, that's wrong, let's catch the bad guy. However, we also look at ourselves. We're to blame too. We celebrated this man destroying himself. We endorsed men being self-struck like he was. We just going to his funeral, having all these love expressions is useless. We neglected him. We need to treat other people better. That's also justice. The community has to improve. It's a community's neglect that gave room to this bad situation that led to the murder. You see what I mean? But in this case, because nobody wants to look at the community and say, what type of people are we? They now are so obsessed with catching the bad guy. And this obsession with catching the bad guy is seen by the world as something good. People want justice. No, it's not just people want. People want to escape themselves. And in this case, because you have someone who did a crime, oh, they can use the criminal as an outlet now. Now, the criminal is not innocent. Hell no. He killed someone. However, the criminal is not to blame for the whole situation. He's just the guy who took advantage of the situation. But who made the situation? The community did. So again, the world or the public would praise this obsession with catching the bad guy. And they would even interpret as, you see, the community cares about justice. Or they would say, wow, all this loving expression at his funeral, people really loved him. Now, don't get me wrong. If someone was beloved during their lifetime, of course, if there's a funeral, it's going to be a lot of loving expressions. Of course, there will be. But not everyone, but not every packed funeral shows someone wants to be loved. If someone wants to be loved, of course, there's going to be a lot of people want to attend the funeral to pay the last respects. Absolutely. But sometimes you have basic funerals just because people want a bill out for how they mistreat an individual was alive. You get me? But that's the thing with the world. The world looks at it superficially. And they say, you know what, this is a good situation. But someone who looks deeper at it will say, this is not a good situation at all. Okay, let's go to the example I gave about the guy who travels miles, at least 10 miles away from his house to go to a supermarket. Even though there are 9 supermarkets just across in his own street. There's so many supermarkets around with exact same products that he needs. Why is he going traveling 10 miles away all the way to a village to a supermarket? Now, common people will say, hey, mind your own business, man, whatever. A police officer or a police detective will look at it and say, okay, if this individual who's going to this supermarket over and over again, remember, he needs to put gas in his car to drive all the way here. That means he's also making a lot of costs coming all the way over here. It takes more time to come all the way over here. Then he puts the groceries in his car and drive all the way back home. There's way too much effort. So that means he's avoiding supermarkets nearby him. Why is he avoiding supermarkets nearby him? Why is he doing it? Now, there are possible explanations. Maybe there's a woman working at a supermarket that he fancies and he hopes to see her or get in contact with her. Maybe that could be a reason. It could also be that this man has such a bad reputation in his own neighborhood that people really don't want to see him around. And to avoid people arguing with him, he goes all the way around. It could be this man, when he was younger, committed burglaries or shoplifting in the supermarkets, and he's embarrassed to be seen over there. It could be this guy is a serial killer that likes to stay outside of his living place. I mean, there's so many possible reasons why he's avoiding all the supermarkets nearby, and it goes to this one miles away. Thing is, the only thing you know now is that okay, something's off with his behavior, and so there's some motive here that doesn't add up. It's the only thing you know. Now you have to do your investigation to figure out what goes on. All right. Now, the title of this live stream is "What Men Highly Esteem, God Abhors." I want you to understand the following: the Heavenly the Heavenly Father values His own glory, which benefits mankind in the long run. The Heavenly Father prioritizes His own glory. Why? Because His glory is what keeps us safe and sane and stable in the long run. You get me? So the Heavenly Father regards everything that is in alignment with His glory to be valuable and good. Because it is truly valuable and good for the human species in the long run. Anything that's either a stumbling block or a hinder to its glory, that my Father looks down upon and he disapproves of. And when we hold on to things that are against the glory of God, we're actually sabotaging our own well-being and of those around us. That my Father he's horrified by that. That my Father is horrified when human beings operate against their own well-being. And that's what the horrifies him for. When we continuously operate against our own well-being, that's what our Father considers an abomination. So now, now you understand this. You understand the following. Fallen mankind, fallen mankind is self-destructive. Fallen mankind, as you can read in Genesis chapter 11, fallen mankind's main desire is to have a strict confinement where they're unbothered, left alone, and where they're never questioned or called out for anything. That is what fallen mankind is longing for. It's a narcissistic desire to escape. That's fallen mankind. And because of this, fallen mankind is unstable, because if everyone seeks their own confinement to be left alone, that means nobody's taking responsibility for one another, nobody's taking responsibility for the community, nobody's going to cooperating together, nothing gets done, everything's functional, and you're going to have a lot of disease and a lot of harm happening. But nobody wants that to happen either. So what does fallen mankind do? They form alliances based on restrictions, and they exclude and often even murder those who don't join their alliance. That's what society is. Society is an alliance of grown folks who all want to be left alone, but they can only be left alone if they do it together. So out of necessity, they follow restrictions, and they justify restrictions by either excluding or killing everyone who doesn't abide with the restrictions. That is society. That's fallen mankind. Now, based on that, fallen mankind's values are all about escaping and seeking relief. And this escape and seeking relief, what which the Bible calls sin, is self-destructive. And the Heavenly Father, he prioritizes his own glory because his glory is what benefits and works well for mankind forever. So it is possible that both the Heavenly Father and uh, and a fallen human being are upset about the same thing. For example, murder. Then the father is upset with that because it violates his institution, it violates life that he created. Of course, then the father is upset with that. We human beings are upset with that because it makes us feel insecure. Someone just took someone else's life. I mean, that can happen. We can be next. Or what about the family members? What about people who are suffering right now? So, yes, then my father, as well as fallen mankind, can be upset about similar things, which are objectively wrong. That is true. But the thing is, why are they upset about it? The Heavenly Father is upset with murder because it's actually an attack on him and his sovereignty. And it's also an endangerment to everyone around. So objectively, Heavenly Father is upset with that. Fallen mankind is only upset with murder if it's outside of their restrictions. When a police officer kills someone who resists arrest, um, They still took a life, but people will reframe it as, well, the guy resisted arrest. If he was innocent, he should have complied. It would have been all right. Well, so when we frame it a different way, not be upset with it. Someone claiming they killed someone in self-defense, whether it's true or not, the self-defense seems plausible. So we make an exception for that. Um, the thing is, you can also just run away or walk away if it's possible. But anyway, um, the border patrol shooting at illegal migrants. Some people even are celebrating that. Well, we need to defend our borders, whatever. So when it comes down to it, fallen mankind does get upset with murder or homicide, but it's not from a, it's often not from objective point of view. That's a human life. Human life is valuable, so you shouldn't take human life. Because let me tell you, human beings don't value all human life. I mean, not all human beings are innocent. Not all human beings are good people. There are horrible, toxic, wasteful human beings out there also. And in general, people don't value those people that much. So if one of them is killed, people are not okay with murder, but say, well, they were bad people anyway. So fallen mankind does not objectively value human life to begin with. But okay, it is possible that fallen mankind and our father are upset about the same thing that's objectively wrong. But apart from those things, the Heavenly Father's values, which are eternal and self-evident, have nothing in common with what society values. Nothing at all. Because fallen mankind will value things that contribute to societal relief. And if something is wrong, or if they really cannot justify something, they'll reframe it in such a way to excuse it. Now, let's go back to the parable I gave, the first one, about this guy John had his own business, divorced, then remarried, had grown children, never bothered anyone around. He was neglected. He developed disease that would kill him, but eventually was murdered. All of that, and a lot of people had sympathy at his funeral. Then we catch the bad guy. From the point of view of society, this John was a great man, and they experienced it as a loss. Well, of course, a loss for society. John was a doormat that people could neglect, ignore, mistreat, and would never fight back or make it hard on other people. Instead, he would concentrate on work and make sure he was useful. Of course, society would like more people like John. So him being killed is a loss for society and also exposes how bad society mistreated John. So of course they want to put all the focus on the murderer and make him to a monster. Why? Because that takes attention away from the neglect of the public. But was this John such a great guy? Now look, in the best case scenario, he was mentally ill and taken advantage of. In that case, he truly was a victim. But if he was not mentally ill, then he was just a wasteful man who got along being wasted by others. There's no way the Heavenly Father will favor that at all. Because by allowing himself to be mistreated like this, he became part of the bad situation, and the bad situation also kept the iniquity going over there. So I want you to understand the following. The world will esteem whatever relieves them. The Heavenly Father esteems what brings him glory, because what brings him the glory benefits mankind through and through forever. So the Heavenly Father prioritizes also glory is not narcissistic, it's not selfish. No, it's exactly what he should be doing. The Heavenly Father prioritizes his own glory is looking after us. You hear me? So the Heavenly Father prioritizes on glory, that is love, and that is justice, is what he's supposed to be doing. Fallen mankind prioritizing their own narcissistic comfort, there's no way to justify it. So understand the following. It seldom happens that the masses and Heavenly Father are on the same page. Let me explain. Let's say you have a murder on the loose. Let's say you have a serial killer on the loose right now. Bad situation, serial killer on the loose. The Heavenly Father wants an individual to be stopped. Rightfully so. He goes around killing people. What the heck is that? The public, the mass want the man to be stopped too. Why? Because nobody wants to be the next. Nobody wants to be the next victim of the serial killer, or nobody wants someone near them uh, that they love or they cherish to be the victim either. But you may say, "Oh, Rashid, you see, this serial killer killing people is horrible. The public's upset about it. Then my father is not okay with it. See, they're on the same page." No, they're not. No, they're not. They're just upset about the same thing. Well, upset. They're just horrified by the same thing. But it does mean they're on the same. They're on the same team. Okay, let me give another example. Okay, let's say now that um, you have just a short example. Let's say now you have parents who are really horrible people towards their children, and the children fight back against their parents. Now, the father wants the situation to stop because those parents are reprobate. They're like swine, and then father wants the children to move on from the parents and live happy and fulfilling lives to glorify him. That's what I'm for. Wants the situation to stop. Locals want the situation to stop because it embarrasses them. Because those parents are grown folks that should be kept in check by the locals. Because the locals don't keep the parents in check, they're now collaborators of child abuse. So those children fighting back is a symptom of how much they're neglected by the community. So the locals want the situation to stop, but the emphasis will be on the children not finding their parents and not the parents repenting. So the children find their parents is not a good situation for at all. It isn't. Both the public admits the public agrees with that, as well as my father. But my father comes from a whole different position. My father knows the parents are reprobate. They don't want to change. So my father wants the children to be delivered and move on. And my father wants the community to repent too for allowing this to happen. But the local community just wants the children to shut up so that they are left unbothered by the violence they allow amongst their midst. It's a community that allows child abuse to happen. So it's a community that damages these children. And the children are now fighting back. So eventually, the community will be incriminated. And they want the children to shut up, stop fighting your parents. So you may think, oh, that the father wants the children to stop fighting their parents, the grown children to stop fighting their parents, and the community wants. You see, they're on the same team. No, they're not. You see what I mean? Just because people want a similar outcome does not mean they are on the same team together. The Heavenly Father values the life of these children so they are safe in the long run. The community just wants their narcissistic comfort not to be disturbed. They want these children to ignore the fact they've been neglected by everyone around and as grown folks to take all the blame on themselves for how dysfunctional they are and act like the community doesn't owe them anything. That's what the local community wants because they're narcissistic. The Heavenly Father wants them to stop arguing with their parents because it's useless. These parents are reprobate. So you see what I mean? So the Heavenly Father and the public, the wider public out there in the world, they may want a similar thing, but it doesn't mean they're on the same thing. They're not. And often the common public is in total opposition towards Heavenly Father. Is this all clear to you? Let me know in the live chat. Let me know. So, let me tell you, it's whatever God abhors that matters. Let's go back to the example of children fighting their parents. Not small children. Talk about grown, about children who are now in their teens, turning into adults. They're fighting their parents because the parents are abusive, all of that. If the parents are reprobate and out of their mind, the children have to be saved from this. They have to be delivered from these people. So the children fighting their parents objectively is not a good thing for the children because the parents may snap and kill them, whatever. So the community wants it to stop just because their narcissistic bubble is disrupted, and they're upset with that. So they're motivated to stop, even though it's a good thing, even though the situation has to stop. But the reason they want to stop it is for a narcissistic reason. God wants to stop for the right reason. That's what goes on. Because what the public values is just this confinement of ease that they're longing for. And because this domestic violence situation is rotting it, that's why they're against it. But it's not that they actually value truth. They value reality. It's not that they value reality, truth, nor the lives of the people involved. The Heavenly Father values the lives of human beings involved. And that's why he wants human beings to be safe and better off. So which is capital France, by the way. And I had to go to the toilet. There were some public toilets around. So I thought, you know what, let me go to one of these public toilets in a park. So I left the shop. I went in the park to look for the public toilet. Finally, I found it. And oh my goodness, y'all. When I opened, because it was like, it was a public toilet in a tiny, tiny building, like a cabin in the middle of a public park. So when I opened that door, oh my God, man, I almost fainted, man. There was by the way, can you all hear me? Because so yeah, what I encountered in that public toilet in Paris, man, oh my God. The fees everywhere in the sink, on the mirror, on the floor, pee everywhere. Oh my God, man. What the hell was that? Oh, I mean, I went to a restaurant to go to a toilet, but yo, that's an abomination. Now imagine now, this was just a public toilet that was so nasty, so covered with feces, urine, and all type of other stuff. What if you walk down the street and all over the streets, man. You have dog shit everywhere. You have people defecating on the street, all of that. You're gonna think, oh my goodness, man, is it not a sewage system? Or at least dig a hole somewhere outside, do it in, and cover the hole, man. I hope you understand what abomination is. Abomination is something so nasty, so horrible in your face, it really does something to you. Well, let me tell you, a lot of the things the world esteems are abominations to the Heavenly Father. Why? Because a lot of things the world esteems go against His glory, and therefore it's harmful to all of us in the long run. But we're so keen on those things we highly esteem, it's an abomination to the Heavenly Father. You get me? Now, Di asks here, I have a question here. Can you elaborate on the wedlock? And she also said the world esteems a wedlock. Explain to Lord the test of this compared to the establishment of marriage. Now, marriage is just sexual harmony. Sexual harmony is established and created by the Heavenly Father, shown in the Garden of Eden with Adam and Eve. Okay? Now, sexual harmony um, should be the norm for the human species. That's how God built us. Now, the world has this arrangement. The world has sexual arrangements that they call marriage. And the Roman Empire came with this thing called the wedlock, where you need government permission with a registration in order to be considered married. Now, the wedlock legally brings sexual disharmony. Why? Because in God's sexual design, the man is masculine, the woman is feminine, and they form a balance with the man in the lead. That is God's design for sexual harmony. The wedlock, even though the wedlock has practical purposes for registration and administration in the public, the wedlock grants legal advantages to wives that disrupts the sexual blueprint of the Heavenly Father. And that's why the wedlock is an abomination in the sight of the Heavenly Father. Registering the fact you're married to someone is not the abomination. It's this wedlock, this whole institution that you need government consent to sexually be with someone long term. And the fact we believe so much in it, that's the abomination of the Heavenly Father. You see where I'm going with this? So all these believers holding on to the wedlock as a type of achievement in life that can purify them is idolatry. Do you know that there are a lot of believers who are idolizing sex partners? I made a live stream about the whole term kingdom spouse. On YouTube, you have many of these teachers talk about kingdom spouses. A kingdom spouse is a similar myth to the myth of the twin flame or the soulmate. The whole belief that there is one special individual out there of the opposite sex that will make life easy on you. What if your so-called soulmate is married to someone else, and children someone else? What now? A lot in the world, you have a lot of people. It's all about finding that one sex partner from the opposite sex that will so-called make all their life easy. For men, it's often finding a woman that will shut up, make meals for them, and spread their legs anytime they want, and leave them alone. So they want women to act like advanced sex bots. And for women, it's often they want a man from whole human species that will worship the very ground she walks on, and he will only be sexually attracted to her, not notice any other woman on the earth, and he is dedicated to her comfort, even at his own expense. That's what a lot of these women are looking for. finding the one. All of these expectations are narcissistic and horrible. I mean, in society, people complain about this toxic expectation of a lot of men for their wives to be advanced sex bots, only there to spread their legs, having sex, and making meals for them, and just shut up and do whatever he says. A lot of women get upset with this expectation, and rightfully so, because it's narcissistic, doesn't end up. However, do we address a lot of the toxic expectations a lot of women have? That the man has to work hard, dedicate himself to her comfort, on condition, even at the expense of his own well-being, just for her to feel important. There are women out there who lack self-worth and they want a man to worship her, to fight for her, to make effort for her at his own expense, no matter how unreasonable she is. And that's what these women call commitment. Why aren't these expectations addressed? Anyway, you have a lot of toxic sexual aspiration out there in the world. And in a lot of churches, they say, well, once you have in the wedlock, it's all going to be safe and well. No, it's not. If you have a woman who has horrible expectations concerning sexuality, and she gets into a wedlock, she says, I do, in a church, and she signs the marriage license, and they're quote unquote married quote unquote the world. Does that automatically mean she has improved as a woman and she has good expectation now? She's a healthy woman to be around? No, no, it's not. If a man has toxic and weird expectations and he gets into a wedlock, even if he never had sexual intercourse before that day, even if he saved all the sexual activity until the wedlock, if he's in the wedlock and his expectations are wrong, he is still wrong. It's still going to be a disaster. This worship of sex partners is idolatry. It's abomination to Heavenly Father, y'all. The Heavenly Father wants sexual harmony in the human species, which is what we need as a species to begin with. What we do as fallen mankind is want to control one another sexually through violence, whether it's the violence of the government, or the violence through religion, or the violence of people just not complying with the community, becoming loners, all of that. That's what fallen mankind does. So that's why I'm telling you, you need to have discernment. When churches preach about sexual purity, what are they talking about? Are they talking about sexual harmony as God intended to be? Or are they talking about everyone being regulated to a wedlock? And a lot of people say, well, if everything regulated to a wedlock, there's more oversight in the community, things are more in order. Yes, things are in order, but it's not peaceful. Peace and order are not the same thing. You can have, let's say now you have a culture, let's say you have a community where girls at age, even from age 12 to 15 already wed out into a wedlock to older men. Because you have places like that in the world till this day, even though they don't do it openly. And you said a lot in the past that the moment a girl has a menstrual cycle, people say, oh, she can have children now because she get pregnant. Okay, give her into a wedlock. Okay, let's say now you have all these teenage girls were given to a wedlock to older men. And it's older men, they all have jobs and they have cash. People say, well, there's order. The young girls don't end up hoeing around, becoming single moms and causing problems. They're all in a wedlock with one man having sex with them, and they have children. Contributing to the birth of the community is order. It may be order, but is it peaceful? Likely not. There's a lot of exploitation, a lot of domestic violence, all that happening. So it's not peaceful. And God is a God of peace, not of disorder. But in church, God is the God of order. It says the God is the God of peace. Order and peace are not the same thing. I mean, a brothel has order. You have the pimps who boss the prostitutes around. And the customers have to pay the prostitutes. If you don't pay, the pimp goes after them. Simple as that. So a brothel has order, but is there peace? No, there's not. Is there safety, the sanity? None of those things are there. So understand the following. When you're dealing with worldly people, long-term harmony is not possible. It isn't. Well, let me say it like this. The world has no peace. It hasn't. What they call peace in the world is a counterfeit peace. It's just when everyone either agrees not to attack or people join force together to attack the same target together. That's what the world calls peace. It calls peace. It's not peace. For people in the world to get along, they require victims. The world cannot function without victims to redirect the unrest towards. Now, the victims don't have to be innocent people. They can be bad people themselves. But what makes the victims is that everyone blames them for everything, though they're not to blame for everything. Look, it is not possible to have long-term harmony in the world because the world doesn't follow the Prince of Peace, Christ. They don't. So when you're dealing with worldly people, just know that you can't get along with them. Just know in the long run, when you're around worldly people, at some point there's going to be friction. There's going to be people upset, pissed off because their expectations are not met, or because they don't feel respected or whatever. Those things will always show up. And let me tell you one thing: worldly people collectively, they need an outlet for the unrest they generate. If not, they will lose their mind and turn on one another. So the world requires victims, blood sacrifices. Without victims, the world cannot function. Simple as that. So if you want to be part of the world, you will also be consenting to the blood sacrifice that keeps the world together. If you want to be part of the world, you will also be a participant indirectly in the bloodshed, in the victimization. Simple as that. There's no way you can be part of the world without being part of the victimization that keeps the world together. So everyone who wants to be part of the world is forfeiting the Heavenly Father. Let me repeat it one more time, because I don't know if this gets through to you. Everyone out there, regardless of their background, the age they have as a grown individual, let me tell you, the moment you decide you want to be part of the world, you decide that it's okay that some human lives don't matter. It's okay that some human lives are destroyed. It's okay that some people are damaged so that you can have your ease. The moment you even decide to be part of the world, you're forfeiting the Heavenly Father. You're going against the Most High. You're going against His word. You're going against God's plan. Now, look, it's one thing to want to be part of the world, but to make effort to be part of the world is a whole. That means you you're now in full idolatry. Want to be part of the world already means that your priorities are not right. You're not Christ-centered. But actually embrace the world and to make efforts to be accepted and be part of the world, that means you are in full idolatry. That means you've thrown any Father out of the window. Now I have a question for you. If you choose to participate in the bloodshed and victimization of the world, are you then still innocent if that same world attacks you? Well, let me say it like this. If you choose to be part of the victimization of the world, if you're comfortable being part of that, are you a victim if that same world you want to be part of attacks you? Let me know in the live chat. What do you think? If you decide you want to be part of the world and you make effort and you join the victimization of the world, are you a victim now if that same world that you want to be part of attacks you? Let me know. What do you think? Okay. Now, it's one thing if you're naive or mentally ill and you don't realize what the world really is. If that's you, then you're innocent. If that's you, you're just being taken advantage. If you're mentally ill or you are naive still, you don't it didn't look at truthfully what the world is, in that case, you're innocent. You're just being taken advantage of. The moment, however, you realize something's off about the world and to refuse to your investigation, from that point on, you are liable. And from that point on, you cease being innocent. From that point on, you are a collaborator. Now, look, even if you are a collaborator of the world still doesn't have the right to victimize you because nobody has the right to victimize. Because God is Lord, He's the owner of all of us. All of us should do the will of Heavenly Father. However, if you choose to be part of the world that requires blood sacrifice to function, if you choose to be part of the world that needs victims to operate, that means you're okay with participating in the victimization. Why then should Heavenly Father intervene to rescue you when the same world you chose above Him turns on you? Why would Heavenly Father do that? Now, look, if the world suddenly turns on you, escalates on you, and you're either mentally ill or you are naive still, or you're just you have no idea what goes on. In that case, Heavenly Father has to show some intervention. You hear me? But if you are aware the world isn't all right, and you make excuses just to get whatever you get out of it, you are a participant. You hell not are considering the people were victimized, so why would God intervene for you? And look, I know this is a bit sensitive because people say, "Oh, Rashid, what about the children that are being killed or mistreated?" All of that. Listen, the children are in the care of the adults around them. If the adults around them join the world, they willingly endanger their own children. It's going to be on the adults in the hands of the children. If the children survive, the children can now grow up and outgrow the world and serve their Heavenly Father. Not all of them will, but that's on them. If a child does not survive, it's just a community that decided to make a sacrifice. Simple as that. Just know that if you are a grown individual and you do not want to be part of the world, you want better for yourself, I'm telling you, anytime the world makes effort on you, even if you're still an unbeliever, then Father will bring some intervention for you somewhere. But if you're a grown individual and you couldn't care less about just any of that, you just want to be part of the world to get your ease and all of that, guess what? Guess what then? Why would then Father intervene? You're you're part of the problem too. Look, this is why the underworld or the satanic cults, that's why they will always show you what they are about. Either through the symbolism, color codes, or they'll make commercials, moves about it. Satanic cults will always show you what they're about. Why? Because that gives you the opportunity to avoid them or to counter them. Do something about it. If they don't show you what they're about and they fully lie to you, eventually they'll get intervention from the Heavenly Father afflicting them. And they don't want to go through that. So to prevent that from happening and to escape intervention from God and all the damage it will cause to them, they want you to be part of what they're doing. Because the moment you're part of what they're doing, there's no intervention from God coming. You get me? Because you're part of what they're doing. That's why the standard calls will always show you what they're about. That's what predictive programming is all about, y'all. Okay. Let's say now, let me give a parable to you guys. You guys can understand it better. Let's say now, let's say that the KKK has a rally. Imagine the KKK, Ku Klux Klan, has a rally somewhere. They show the burning crosses. They even write on white power and all of that. And it's so open. It's a KK rally. If an if a melanated individual, let's say you have a Moorish individual from African descent, someone from, let's say, Nigeria, that goes to one of these KK rallies, and they're being beaten up. Of course, people are going to say, "Oh, don't mean it. You don't mean it. What the heck is this?" These people have to be charged for assault. That's true. On the other hand, the judge is going to ask himself or herself, "Sir, you're from Nigeria, right?" "Yes." "You are a dark-skinned man." "Yes, Your Honor." "And you went to a KKK rally." And the people were open, they were a KK rally, and they have issues against people like you. "Sir, what were you thinking going there?" In this case, the judge may even interpret the man's action as provocation, and based on that alone, he can go to prison too. Even though he was the one that was beaten up, the judge will say, if this was a rally and they hit their KKK motives and they beat you up, in that case, it was um, you're the victim completely. But now, sir, you should have known, or you could have known there was a KK rally. Why the heck did you put yourself there? Let me tell you, that's what's that's what satanic cults do. They will always show you. They will not tell you, because telling is not proof. Anyone can tell anything. They will show you the proof of what they're about. They will show you how unworthy and how unreliable they are. So then, if you continue to be around them or to be seeking involved with them, you know what you get yourself into, and it's on you. Okay, there's, for example, Donald Trump, years back, during his first presidency, at the beginning, there was this poem that he quoted um, in one of his rallies. The poem goes like this. I'm paraphrasing now. You have this beautiful woman, and she's outside, and she sees this snake. The snake is almost frozen by the weather, and the snake is wounded. And she has compassion on the snake. And the snake asks for help. "Please, fair lady, can you take me in? I will not. I will not bite you. I will not harm you. Please take me in." And the woman with compassion takes the snake in. She looks after the snake. The snake gets better. The snake gets healthy again. And then one day, when she's about to release the snake bites her. And now she's laying there dying. And she asks, "Why'd you do that? You were dying, and I looked after you." And the snake mocked, saying, "You foolish woman. You knew I was a snake when you let me in." Now listen, I'm not saying now that you have to go out there and start blaming the victims. Victim blaming is a horrible thing. If someone is victimized, they need help, they need to recover, okay? Sometimes it's not fully clear where someone's a victim. It's like a gray area. I understand, but listen, I'm not telling you go out and start victim blaming people. Hell no. I'm just telling you here that we need to beware what we're doing, what we get ourselves involved in it. Let me give another parable, another story. This is not my own. This story out there. You have this frog, and the frog is jumping around in the lake. The frog encounters this scorpion. The scorpion is wounded, mortally wounded. And the scorpion asks the frog, please, can you help me go to the other side? You go to the other side. And you go to the other side to join my family, all of that. And the frog was hesitating. Just promise me you will not sting me or do anything weird towards me. And the scorpion said, of course not. I need your help. The frog carries the scorpion to the other side. Once arrived at the other side, suddenly the scorpion stings the frog, and the frog is dying. And the frog is crying, saying, what the heck did you do? And Scorpion said, you foolish frog. You knew I was a scorpion. What do you expect me to do? Listen, we cannot change people for the better. Unless someone is a little child or a little baby, you cannot change them for the better. They have to be part of their own improvement. It's our obligation to be realistic and to see people for what they are and to act accordingly. Now, they have the obligation to repent and improve, absolutely. But just know, not all of them will repent nor improve. So if they're not repenting nor improving, they're wrong, absolutely. But thing is, them being wrong doesn't change the fact that they're wrong and they're bringing for damage. So why are you putting yourself at risk being around them if they're staying in the wrong? If they're staying in the wrong, that's them staying in the wrong. That's their fault. But it doesn't mean that we have to facilitate them staying in the wrong. For example, someone can be a drunkard, getting drunk all the time. Nobody can change them from being a drunkard to a healthy individual. But people can say, okay, you want to go get a drink at the bar? Okay, the bartender says, okay, you have enough. You need to go out. The bartender cannot prevent an individual. If someone's a drunkard, getting drunk all the time, the bartender cannot change the individual into a better human being. He cannot. But what he can do is, okay, you're a drunkard with a tendency to get drunk. You know what? You had enough drinks now. Out. Call security, kick him out. That's what he can do. And the judge can say, well, you're a drunkard. Well, we can take away your driver's license. Just because someone is self-destructive doesn't mean that nobody has an obligation to do something about it. You cannot change the fact they're self-destructive. But you can do something about how far they can go with their self-destruction. You see what I mean? Someone can be depressed and not care about life anymore. You cannot change that individual. They have to give up this. They have to give up this. They have to start valuing life. You can't do that for them. But what you can do is put on suicide watch if they're giving up on life. So what I'm saying is, yeah, we cannot change people for the better, but we have to be accountable and responsible so we can see them for what they are and to act accordingly. Hope this is clear to you. So again, what men highly esteem, God abhors. Look, as I mentioned before in this live stream, it could be both the Heavenly Father and the men out there are upset about something that's objectively wrong. But even then, that does not mean they're on the same team. So the phrase "the enemy of your enemy is your friend" is not true. People can have the same enemy as you and also hate you at the same time. Some people are just hateful. They hate everyone, including themselves. If someone is hateful, that they hate themselves and everyone else, they'll hate the people. Let's say you're operating in hate, which is wrong, and they're operating in hate, and you both hate the same people. You think you're on the same thing. No, they hate you too. You shouldn't be in hate to begin with. You know what I mean? Look, just know when you're dealing with worldlings, as a believer, you need to walk in the power of God. You need to walk in the power of God, I'm telling you. And let me tell you one thing. You are regarded in the world based on the backing you have. That's the last thing I'm about to explain for the close on this live stream. You are regarded based on the backup you have. Let's say you're in a public space, like a public park, okay? And the people chatting, shouting, singing, dancing, and all that. So everyone's just loud doing their thing. And someone comes and tells you, shut up, be quiet. You're going to think, who are you? If an individual carries a gun or a knife, you may think, you know what? Let me just be quiet because this individual is out of their mind. He may be able to explode. But if an individual carries a gun or a knife and tells you to be quiet out of the blue, people will say, what's this guy thinking he is? Just go around, tell people to be silent like that. We see. We're not on your property. We're not in your house. So who the heck are you? But if it's a police officer that comes by and says, quiet, you'll likely listen. You know why? Because a police officer, he can use your defiance as an excuse to arrest you and put you in jail. And once in jail, you can't go home. You may not be able to go to work. You may fight from a job. You may end up homeless, whatever. You may get a criminal record that may prohibit you from getting certain jobs or getting visas. So because the police has established violence as a backup, you consider them. Even if the police officer is not acting according to the law, you'll still comply with them because he has a taser, he has a gun, he has a bat, and he has a whole team willing to back him up. Okay? Okay, let's say now that your school teacher, let's say now that your university professor disapproves of your friends. You may think, oh, whatever, he's just a university teacher. I only go there to get a class. Once I pass the class, I don't have nothing to do with him anymore. But what if your parents disapprove of your friends? Now, if your parents aren't wealthy nor rich, you may think, well, so what? I'm a grown man, I'm a grown woman now. But if your parents are multimillionaires or they have a whole inheritance they can leave for you, or what if your financially still depend on your parents, now because they have a leverage over you financially, you'll be more considerate of what type of friends you take because you don't want to get them on your back. A lot of people don't want to admit this, but listen, the amount of regard you get in daily life depends on the backing you have. You hear me? Now, look, if you are a trashman or a cleaner at a building, it could be that people treat you well because, let's say, you have a restaurant and you have a waiter or a cleaner at the restaurant, and the restaurant manager is quite dismissive of the cleaner or the waiter. The customers may see this and get upset because they'll think, listen, that is a waiter. That's someone of lower rank than you, and you dismiss them. So the only reason you're treating us well is because we have the cash to bring to your restaurant. That means at some point, if we can't be of any profit to you, you treat that same way. And our customers may stay away. And they will tell others to go to that restaurant. So to prevent revenue loss and them go out of business, they will treat you as a waiter or the cleaner very well. But that is because you have the backing of the public. Symbolically, if you have a low rank at a job, like a waiter or a cleaner or whatever, and your employer mistreats you, and the public finds out, they may dismiss the whole employer and his business. So now, because the employer doesn't want to go to this backlash, he treats you very well. But if you were just any random cleaner that he had no involvement with, he would have shown his true colors. Look, a lot of people won't say this, but your backing in life determines how people will treat you, how much they will regard you. If you are part of a gang that's a leverage over the local community, a gang that's known to extort people and all of that, people can be quite considerate towards you. You walk into a shop or into a store, or you walk into a supermarket, wherever you go, people will be regarding towards you. People regard you, your feelings, regard your wish, all of that. Why? Because they know if they mistreat you or dismisses of you, you have a whole gang with leverage. They can act out on your behalf. They don't want to go through that. But if you are just any random individual walking to a store or a shop, whatever, do you think people are going to regard you that much? Likely not. They may regard you because you have the cash to shop there, but that's it. Look, as believers, we need to understand the following. The only reason you'll be safe, sane, and secure in the long run in this world as a believer is because the power of God is your backing. And that power will turn on anyone and anything making life hard on you. And because there are people out there who can testify of the power of God within you working against them, that's why a lot of people think, you know what, let's leave this guy alone, this woman alone. That's why. On the other hand, you may miss out on people that want to be around you, because some people do not want to be around you. You have so much power working through you, but that's on them. Your backing determines how people regard you in life. So my question to you all believers is, are you walking in the power of God? Or are you still religious, seeking some narcissistic comfort? What's going on? If you're not walking in the power of God, y'all, I'm telling you, you're not safe down here. People can turn on you anytime, even may turn physically violent on you. Let me tell you one thing. Let me tell you one thing. Okay. You can hear me now? You can hear me now? What's the last thing you heard? Because the phone just went dark. What was the last thing you heard? Now look, what I said the last thing was you are regarded based on your leverage. Your backing determines how people regard you in life. There are people out there, and I don't condone this, I don't support this, absolutely not. But the people out there, they commit crime, they exploit people, even sexually and all of that. For years and decades, they're never caught, they're not arrested, charges are dropped. Why? Because their leverage can backfire on the community if you take action against them. And they think that, oh, they can get away with it forever. No, they can't. Do you know that some of these big criminals out there, or these evildoers out there, do you know that sometimes the police takes years of investigation before they make an arrest on them? Years. Some of these people, man, years ago or decades ago, there was already proof that they were guilty. But it was not suitable to arrest them yet because it would cause too much controversy, too much heartbreak, and too much problems in the community. You get me? And because of that, the court system waited till the right time to get to them. But they get away. My question to you is, we should be walking the power of God. My son's working perfectly fine over here. You have to restart your browser if you don't hear any sound. So, understand this. Your backing is what determines how you're regarded in life. Let me tell you, it could be that people can't stand you. It could be that people don't like you, upset with you, and all of that. But because of the backing you have, they'll behave towards you. They'll be kind towards you. They'll watch out how they behave around you. That's what goes on. It can either be your own backing or the backing of the group you're associated with. As a believer, there are times that, as a believer, you will experience that there are times you'll feel quite off around a lot of people. And you don't know why you're feeling off around them. Well, let me tell you why you feel off around them. You feel off around them because you know that maybe you don't know it directly, but you do realize it somewhere that the safe outcomes you have in life are enforced by the power of God. And because enforced by the power of God, people have to comply, whether they like it or not. And they already feel like any action against you or any action doesn't favor you will backfire on them even more. So that's why they're very cautious how they treat you. Some of these people even try to get close to you, not because they want to be your friend, not because they're interested in you, but because it's just that they're upset that you have power over them. Now, you don't realize you have power over them because you're not into controlling anyone out there. You're not into controlling anyone. You're just living life glorifying the Father. But just know that the power of God that works through you, it's making people and circumstances conform to your favor. It could be you have a job now that nobody's willing to give you. It could be 10 people applied for a job. And the recruiter and the manager already had people in mind you wanted to hire. But for some reason, because you were praying, decreeing, declaring, you got the job. So you have a job now. Well, people don't actually want you there, but what can you do about it? It could be that you got a business visa to start your own business abroad in another country. However, it could be that the other country didn't want people like you to come and have a business over there, but because you walk in the power of God, the authority spent over towards you. You're not threatening anyone, you're not blackmailing anyone, just walk in the power of God. Now, the world will not regard this in a good light. The world wants you to be without any leverage, without any backing, dependent on them financially and how they feel about you, so that they can decide what you are, how important you are, and what you mean to them. That's what society wants. Have you noticed people often get upset with you and accuse you of thinking you're something? Why aren't you allowed to think you're something? Why aren't you allowed to have some value for yourself? That's the obsession of fallen mankind, to control one another. Look, I saw a video yesterday of a believer that was preaching in the streets. It was in a public area, and there were other religious people. There were religious people also spreading flyers, all of that. And he was not in religious talk about Christ. And let me tell you, out of nowhere, this stranger came near him and began to attack him physically. Immediately, the public jumped in, and the police came and took the individual away. Then, while the police took the individual away, another individual tried to attack him. That believer was physically assaulted by two different people. In this case, the crowd nearby intervened. What the heck is this? And there were police officers nearby also. What if there were no police officers nearby? Or what if the people around did not intervene? That believer could have lost his life and end up in a hospital. So when I saw that video, I believe it was on Instagram, whatever. I thought to myself, hold on a minute. Why didn't this believer walk in power? If this believer walked in power continuously, first of all, likely he will not be street preaching, because that's not very effective these days. Or if it was street preaching, I'm telling you, there would be a force field of strength around him. And those two men who came close to beat him up, they would get physically uncomfortable at a distance. They would feel terrified. They would run away from him. That's what would have happened. But the fact he ended up in that situation, almost being beaten up, and a beater could end up either in a hospital or killed. Or worse, what if the public joined on them? I mean, this believer, he was actually tempting the Lord, which is something we shouldn't be doing. Because you should walk in the power of God. Jesus told us, I gave you power to trample scorpions and serpents and whole kingdom of the enemy. None shall by no means hurt you. That none shall by no means hurt you is only for me walking in the power. If you're not walking in power as a believer because you hold on to all these opinions or doctrines or philosophies, guess what? You have no protection. You have no security working on your behalf. You're in idolatry. And because you're in idolatry, you're actually part of the world. You're operating enmity towards Heavenly Father, and you bring harm on yourself. I'm serious about it, y'all. We need to walk in power as believers. Fasting and prayer should be your lifestyle. Okay, I'm not telling you to not eat and drink and starve yourself and get unhealthy. Listen, drink sufficient water, because when you're fasting, you'll be dehydrated, so you need to hydrate yourself properly. Also, eat proper food, and then you can fast and pray. You don't have to fast and pray 5 or 8 hours a day. You can also do it the first 1 hour a day in the morning before you go to work, whatever. Or a half hour or an hour each morning. And sometimes you do 2 hours in the morning, whatever. Fasting and prayer should be your lifestyle. Didn't Jesus say that this kind is something on the step to fasting and prayer? There are problems and difficulties in life that will only avoid you when you fast and pray. So, as a believer, there's nothing wrong with people speaking well of you. Because the Bible even says that a good name is better than good oil, and a good name is preferred above riches. So having good name, having good reputation is good. Having people talk good about you is a good thing. But Jesus did give a warning: beware when all men speak well of you. Christ did not say that people speaking well of you is a bad thing. He said, beware when all men speak well of you. Because this world that is all about narcissistic containment, about containing yourself in narcissistic relief, this world praising you in general, that means that you are enabling and assisting their escapes. And if that's the case, you're not doing God's will. So that means you're compromised. Listen, when you walk in the power of God, there are going to be people turning away from you. There are going to be people going to get upset with you. There are people who are going to ghost you, disappear just like that. When all this happens, rejoice. Rejoice, they all disappear. Okay, let me say it one more time. As a believer, when you walk in power, there will be people walk away from you, ghosting you, ignoring you, getting upset with you, staying away from you. Some don't even tell you to leave them alone, and you think, what did I do? Listen, you didn't do anything wrong towards them. You were not harassing them nor bothering them, but still they act like you're bothering them. So you're confused, thinking, what goes on here? Bystanders also get confused, thinking, hold on a minute. This guy or this woman is not bothering you at all. Why did I tell them to leave you alone? What goes on? Let me tell you what goes on. The power of God that flows through you, it affects your environment. And they experience the effects the power of God has on your environment. And they realize the power comes from you. But because they know the power is not you, but it's something behind you, they know that whatever is behind you, empowering you, can also turn on them. And because they're the ones operating in darkness, operating in lack and violence, they're now terrified and they're projecting fear onto you. That's why they're acting like you're the one bothering, like you're the bad guy or whatever. When such people leave, man, hey, it's going to be painful. It's going to be hurtful. It's going to be confusing. Go through all of it. If you need to cry about it when the therapy, cry about it going to therapy. Do whatever you need to do, just as long as you move on. Shake the dust off your feet and move on. That means you're safe. That means you are safe. Amen. Get used to this, believers. James said, Normans can say the dumbest shit and nobody bats an eye, but a believer speaks the truth and they lose their mind. Let me tell you why that's the case. The normies are people without power, without the backing, financially dependent on the public, and therefore people have emotional control over them. So these normies, that they lose it from time to time, but they okay, whatever. If it loses too far, we're just gonna call the cops, put it in prison, done with it. In the worst case scenario, you can also gun them down or whatever. That's how the public thinks about them. But with you, because you walk in power, and the actual consequences hitting them, inside of them, and around them. If they are in negativity around you, that's why they perceive you as a threat. That's why. You can be the most peaceful, loving, and meekest individual on the earth, and still there will be people treating you like you're a military danger. And that's why we need to be in harmony with will of Heavenly Father. What the world esteems goes against the Heavenly Father. So it's good that you want to have a good reputation. It's good that you want to have good connections with other, good relations with others. All of that is good. Just know healthy connections and healthy relationships are not always possible with everyone. Some relationships and some involvements need to end for your own good. You can't have a healthy relationship if you're the only one that's healthy there. Let me say it one more time. You can't have a healthy relationship with someone else if you are the only one being healthy there. If you're the only one that's healthy over there, You're either a therapist or a social worker or a psychiatrist or a man that helps them out. Because if that's not the case, and you're still around, you're the only one that's healthy, I'm sorry, but you're unequally yoked. You're unequally yoked. So if you're the only one that's healthy in there, eventually you're not healthy anymore. Eventually you're going to be dragged down. Simple as it is. So yes, we should regard our reputation. We should regard how others think about us. We shouldn't worry about it, but we should regard it because it does affect us. Just know, at some point, you just have to say, you know what, so be it. If people can't stand me or people turn on me or people get whatever, then so be it. I'm willing to be peaceful with others. I'm willing to concede. I'm willing to comply. I'm willing to negotiate. I'm willing to whatever. Whatever. These people just want to keep controlling me. These people just want to will what they will. Or these people never want to admit they're wrong. Or these people, it's a one way traffic with them. It's always one way traffic, and they refuse to change this. So if at some point you realize, you know what, this is a bad situation. I'm out of here. Don't argue. Don't fight. Don't break down mentally in front of them. Just shake us off your feet and leave. They are not worthy of your presence. And there's something believers need to learn. Not everyone is worthy of your presence. So let them have your absence then. Not everyone is worthy of your presence, I'm telling you. You need to value yourself to understand this. If they're not worthy of your presence because they're not willing to receive you and consider you, guess what? You shake us off your feet peacefully and move on. It's going to be all on them now. The most loving and best thing we can do in the long run is just walk away, y'all. But people say, but Rashid, I thought you were a Christian. Rashid, shouldn't you turn the other cheek? Shouldn't you guys be looking for peace? Should you guys be getting along? Oh, that's what a lot of people do. They come with all these church-based expectations that have nothing to do with following Christ. Christ did say we need to say that we need to be peaceful. Christ did say we should not repay evil with evil. Christ did say we need to go the extra mile and all of that. However, there's a context and conditions for all of it. You know what I mean? There's a condition for all of it. Look, for example, if you're married and your husband is dysfunctional, but still a quality man, listen, he's just dysfunctional. You just work it out with him. That's it, just work it out with him. But if your husband is physically abusive, endangering you and your children, harming you regularly, I'm sorry to say, but why are you still there? Yeah, God hates divorce. I was taught in church. There's a context to that, you know that? And that God hates divorce was a symbolic thing written in the Old Testament referring to the behavior of the Israelites. It wasn't even about individual marriages. And another thing, shouldn't marriage be a safe place for you to be? The moment's not a safe place anymore. Why are you still there? Why are you enabling this harmful situation? That's not okay. It's not okay at all. So let's say now you're a woman, a believer, and you want to divorce your husband because you don't feel safe around him. And you have proof that he is physically harmful and he doesn't want to change. Any lawyer and any judge and any police officer will side with you, say, ma'am, you did the right thing. As a matter of fact, if your husband does leave you alone, we put a restraining order on him. That's how it goes. But do you know there are churches where they tell you, no, no, you need to work it out. You can't just divorce like that. You need to work it out. You need to fight for your relation, fight for your marriage and that. They give you advice that will suit them. Because so think about it. If your husband has loose hands like that, he's physically harmful. Okay? But now you are the outlet. You are his outlet right now. So that means that other people are left alone. If you divorce him and he is single again, that means he's on the loose now, and other people will have to deal with his toxicity. And because the community doesn't want to deal with his toxicity, they want him to be trapped. So you know what? As long as he has a victim that takes out on, that means at least we're left alone. And that's the reason they want you to stay with this dangerous man. It's not because of the Bible or whatever. It's because of their own selfish narcissistic interest. People will give you wrong advice just to keep you in a bad situation because they profit of you being in a bad situation. Do you, and I hope this is not the case with you, but do you even know that their parents were jealous and envious of their own children? I hope this is not your situation. I hope this doesn't happen to any of you, but hey, sometimes it happens. There are parents out there who are envy and jealous of their own children. There are parents out there who are hating their own children. Think about it. If you have a man who wasted his life not doing anything, and now he has a son, and the son is breaking through, the son breaking through will expose the fact the man has been wasting his life. And because the man doesn't want to look bad that he's wasting his life, he will now get upset with something and trying to sabotage his son. He'll try to give negative advice to the son in hope the son will crash, so at least then he'll feel relieved. And sometimes some parents go so far attempt to kill their own children, even when they're grown. Listen, if one of your parents is a hater towards you, listen, you don't owe any honor to that individual. You don't owe him or anything else anymore. If they turn to a hater and you're their offspring, what? You don't owe them anything anymore. You all stay away from there. Anyone who tells you no, you need to honor your mother and father. Listen, they're either sent by Satan and they're used by demons to set you up, or they themselves are haters too that they want to see you in that bad situation, y'all. You hear me? Again, if one of your parents becomes a hater, get get rid of them. I'm not telling you to take their life or whatever and break the law. I'm telling you, get away from them. Get rid of them from your life, man. Absolutely. And unfortunately, this happens in the world, y'all. It happens. There are women out there and they can't figure out why they're so sexually unstable. And they don't realize it's their own mother, together with some other women who are doing witchcraft on her behind the scenes. There are men out there who face all type of health issues, and you have no idea it's their own father behind the scenes, murmuring about them, doing psychic violence on them. Do you know that there are grown children who die prematurely as adults, and their parents survive them? When you look at the parent is so resentful and bitter towards the child, even before they pass away. Their parents paranormally murdering the children out there, y'all, I'm telling you. So, walking in power is mentor for all believers. And here's another thing. Walking in power will also benefit those around you. Amen? So again, what men highly esteem, God abhors. So I want you to self-reflect on your own life and be real with yourself. Be real with yourself. Is there anything of the world that you're highly esteeming? I'm not talking about music. I'm not talking about dresses or technology and all that. Those are just things on earth that you can be inspired by or whatever. I'm talking about, are there worldly expectations that you're still entertaining, or are there people you're still entertaining that you're like, okay, I need to be away from these people? There's nothing wrong with brief interaction with people, nothing wrong with that. But if the individual is either two-faced or the individual is questionable, then your involvement should be at the bare minimum. Are there people you're still entertaining that you should let go of? You don't have to ghost them or be rude or argue with them. Just peacefully disconnect, unlink from these people, man. I'm telling you. Look, Angie, I'll be praying for you and for your marriage. And there's something you need to discuss with your husband internally. If his family is participating in witchcraft, the contact with his family should be at the bare minimum. Bare minimum, I'm telling you. Because people involved in witchcraft, y'all, they have side effects. Even if your family, Angie, even if your family in law is not using witchcraft on you nor your husband, the fact they're involved in witchcraft alone means that they carry side effects in their lives. And those side effects will harm you both too if you're too often around them. I mean, even in the world natural works like this, let's say someone is a criminal and they're wanted by the police. And one day the criminal's in your house visiting you because he's just an old friend from high school. Let's say there's a SWAT team looking for him to arrest him. And they detected that he's at a specific address right now, your address. And the SWAT team comes to arrest him. Bullets fly over the place. Let's say you have a 4-year-old daughter, and other 4-year-old daughter is hit by a stray bullet and dies. What does the criminal lifestyle of that high school friend has to do with your 4-year-old daughter? Absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. Nevertheless, his criminal lifestyle indirectly harmed your 4-year-old. Why? Because the SWAT team was after him. When the SWAT team came for him, they came at your house because they wanted to find him and he was there. And when the bullets were fired, your child was hit. So now your child is dead. Future taken away. Why? Because you kept entertaining this friend from high school who is now a criminal, who's wanted by the police. You hear me? Or it could be now, let's say now that you have a cousin, and your cousin is a drug addict, and he stole some drugs from some drug dealers. You hear me? But now your cousin went on a vacation to another country. But the drug dealers are still looking for your cousin. And you've been around your cousin often, even on social media, you often appear together. So now those drug dealers are after you, harassing you to find out where's your cousin. Thing is, you wouldn't even have these men harassing you if you kept your cousin at a distance. Now, I'm not telling you to keep everyone at a distance because then you end up antisocial and as a loner. I'm not telling you to do that. I'm just telling you the people you have around you will affect you. If they're haunted by something, whatever's haunting them will haunt you too. If they're haunted by something, whether it's their own past or whatever is haunting them, if it's not resolved, it will also haunt you if you're around them. So you need to watch out with that. All right? Now, I'm at the end of this live stream. Are there any questions about the topics I discussed in this live stream? Let me know, please. Let me know. Yo, same it is with jobs, man. Listen, I don't know how you pay your bills and all of that. It's not onto me. As long as you do it legally. Anyway, I know you have to pay bills, all of that. Just hear me out. Who you work for also affects you. If the workplace you go to work is toxic or is haunted, you will be damaged by that also. So if you need to find another job or another income, you just do it. Don't just quit your job and just have difficult time paying bills, all that, unless the workplace is life threatening towards you. I'm just telling you, make sure that who you work for is safe to work for. I don't care how big your paycheck is. If the individual or the people you're working for are questionable, or they're haunted, or they're on the run, it's going to affect you too. Simple as that. Who you work for matters, y'all. Absolutely. Okay. Well, I did not get any questions over here, so I can assume everything is clear to you. Thank you all for being here. Keep agreeing with Christ and Angie. I'll be praying for you. Be blessed. Everyone hit the like button, share this live stream, subscribe to the channel, comment on the channel, and please donate the links below, and I'll see you in the next live stream. Shalom.